family, religion, and universities are among the few institutions that have survived over centuries and millennia. Universities are considered gifts of religions to the world, of Buddhism to the Indian subcontinent and to Asia, of Catholicism to Europe, of Protestantism to the US, and of Islam to the Middle East and Northern Africa. Have universities been the same throughout the history? Did they transform over these millennia? If yes, why and how? We do not know much about how the ancient universities in the Indian subcontinent, such as Takshila, Nalanda, Jagaddala, Vikramshila, Odantapuri, Dharmapuri, Vallabhi, Sompura, Pushpagiri, survived and transformed. These universities were mostly in the modern day Bihar, undivided Bengal, Gujarat, and Orissa. There are some stories, of course, we know as to their transformations. One of them is that King Dharmapala of the Pala dynasty starts a new university in modern day Bihar called Vikramshila to tease Nalanda Vihara or Nalanda University as we know it out of its complacency, which he thinks it is complacent. Modern universities in India draw their tradition from the European tradition of higher education thanks to our colonial legacy. Europe begins their histories or its history of universities in the medieval period, wherein the universities were focused on training clerics who would be the knowledge keepers. In fact, many of the terminologies we use today in the university come from them. The word university comes from medieval Europe, where which is a Latin phrase called Universitas Magistrorum et Scholarium, which means communities of masters and scholars. Even though many words like dean, deanery, convocation, chancellor, vice chancellor, all these words also come from the medieval universities. Wilhelm von Humboldt, a Prussian diplomat, minister, philosopher, education in modern day Germany, then Prussia, starts a new university in Germany called the University of Berlin with the support of the Prussian king, which moves the university model away from the medieval roots, medieval forms. Humboldt starts the university in Berlin, which is focused on not, not primarily on teaching, but primarily on research, where the research is central to the mission of the university and, of course, to the society as well. Incidentally, the modern day PhD format, which we are all aware, which has a coursework, 6 months in India, mostly 2 years in the US and many other parts of the world, research leading to original output, public defense of the thesis through a viva voce was also designed by him. This new kind of a university, the University of Berlin, goes on to produce some of the finest minds that shape the 19th and the 20th centuries. Some of them are, you're familiar in all disciplines: Fichte, Schleiermacher, Hegel, Schopenhauer, Schelling, Walter Benjamin, Albert Einstein, Max Planck, Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, Ferdinand de Saussure, Otto von Bismarck, Du Bois, Schumann, Heisenberg, Max Weber, Ernst Cassirer. Almost all disciplines, these are some of the central figures in the disciplines that we study. Why did Humboldt start this new kind of university? The answer lies in the French Revolution. French Revolution was this peculiar moment in Europe where European society became a self-canceling society. What happened in French Revolution is that the institutions that Europe had built over the two millennia or centuries were destroyed. The intellectual tradition, in some sense, was overthrown, which was largely housed in the seminaries, in the judiciaries, in the libraries. The revolutionaries burnt the seminaries, burned the libraries, guillotined the judges and the priests and the monarchs. In other sense, the entire knowledge system, knowledge keepers, knowledge institutions were being destroyed in the French Revolution. This set up panic alarms across Europe. Different monarchs in Europe. Uh, Europe was worried. Humboldt was worried. Many asked, why did the French Revolution take place? We all have studied in our high school history textbooks that French Revolution took place because of poverty, because of exploitation, because of despotic rule, revolutionary ideas, uh, and of course, some of us have also heard this line, which is often ascribed to Marie Antoinette, Queen Marie Antoinette, who was supposed to have said that if you don't have bread, let them eat cake. Humboldt also asked the same question: why did the French Revolution take place? His answer is that France had a political order which was the product of the feudal system, the medieval feudal system. But the society was rapidly changing at that time because of European colonization, and because of which and explorations into the new world, which were causing new ideas, new wealth, and new transformations within French society. And according to Humboldt, there was no institution to mediate between the ruler and the ruled, so that this changing society's need, changing society could be factored for political shifts and the social shifts. And because of the absence of such a institution which could mediate between the ruler and the ruled, Humboldt concludes the French Revolution took place. Therefore, that was the reason why French Revolution took place. And if you want to avoid one more French Revolution elsewhere in Europe, the answer would be to create an institution that would mediate between the ruler and the ruled, and also avoid a self-canceling moment for Europe, other European countries, by this mediation. And Humboldt thinks that this institution, which would mediate between the ruler and the ruled, would be the university in its new form. The new university primarily would be, in the Humboldtian model, would be an elite institution, elite research institution that would be focused on research, which would be primarily of use to the state, its scientific and social projects, social needs, and that of the society. In the Humboldt University model, the university has three primary functions. First is research. Do original research. The professoriate is supposed to be engaged primarily in research. And then they have responsibility to disseminate this research through writing, through seminars. And thirdly, to produce future knowledge producers through the form of teaching. And that is why universities offer degrees and offer courses. The Humboldtian model also incorporates the Kantian ideas of the human faculty which permeate the modern university, especially the idea that human mind has the faculties of pure reason, practical reason, and judgment. The Humboldtian model in the 19th century was imported in the US by the universities, by their presidents, because of the interest that it had created in the youngsters in the US who were traveling to Germany to study at the Humboldt University. And in the 20th century, the model then from the US travels to rest of the world. In India, modern universities were established by the colonizers. Uh, we had, of course, the British, the French, the Dutch, the Portuguese, and others. One of the first universities in India was established by the Jesuits in 1542 in Portuguese Goa, called St. Paul's College, which is said to have had about 3,000 students from all over Asia, including Japan. Interestingly, it also had the first printing press in the Indian subcontinent. The British established universities in India in 1857 in the three port cities, Calcutta, Mumbai, and Madras or Chennai today, for the colonial needs and uh, from a colonial world vision. The university they established was in the form of an affiliation system. There would be a university, which would be a hub. It was taken from the London University model and also informed by centralization and control. Under this model, the university would be only a grad school having masters and PhD. PhD came much later, but mostly masters, and would do examinations. And it would not have undergrad programs. It would have several undergrad colleges under it. Uh, uh, in today's, some universities have as many as 800 undergraduate colleges in India, and these colleges would have no freedom to start. They would have to request permission from the university. The curriculum is given by the university. Examinations conducted by the university. When to start the classes, how many to admit, how much to charge the fees, is all decided by the university, and the degree also comes from the university. And this model today survives in India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. It's not seen in the rest of the world. Post independence, Indian universities continue this model, but create parallel institutions based on the new models emerging from the US and Russia, taking the learnings from the Second World War, such as in the form of IITs or the Indian Institutes of Technology and Indian Institutes of Management. The National Education Policy 2020, released by the Government of India, is a significant departure from the colonial model. While it is unable to fully delink from its colonial legacy, you cannot divorce history. History is part of who we are and it shapes what we do in the present. But structurally and philosophically, the new model proposed in the new national education policy is very close to the Humboldtian model. Of course, the policy in its present form also owes a lot to the sustained civil society debates and interventions in India. The Humboldtian model, emerging out of the concerns of the French Revolution, has remained perhaps the biggest and single most transformation in the known history of the universities. However, the universities and knowledge disciplines within universities have been transformed through various social events and individual innovations. The First and the Second World Wars had a deep impact on the university disciplines. The birth and the transformations of disciplines of literature, psychology, management, emergence of applied disciplines, and interdisciplinarity owe much to these two world wars. Philosophical thoughts and movements such as Kantian idea of human faculty have significantly influenced and structured the university and the disciplines as we see them today. Universities and countries also learn from each other and transform. Public debates and civil society interventions shape universities and reshape them constantly. Governments remain one of the strongest forces of changes or lack of it in countries around the world. Individual innovations of presidents of universities, such as the school system from Harvard University, choice-based credit system from California University system, are some of the examples of the innovations coming from university presidents or vice chancellors, as we know in India. Local ethos also influence universities. For example, the inclusion of the working class is a very, very important uh, part of the higher education debates in the UK. Whereas academic freedom becomes central for higher education debates in the US, and inclusion and access become central tenets of higher education debates in India. Lastly, do technologies transform universities? The answer is yes. Technologies of storage and dissemination have made universities what they are today, but they transform them as part of a much larger social shift caused by technologies and over a long, long period of time. Perhaps the universities would not have been born today if the technology of writing had not been born. Printing press has been seen as pivotal to French Revolution with its ability to disseminate the same message across the masses, a large swaths of masses without distortions. Many say that this ability of the printing press or printing technology to disseminate the same message without distortion managed to cause French Revolution. And because of French Revolution, the university system got transformed in the way we have seen them and experience it today. How will the digital technology transform university? Experiments native to digital culture, such as the Minerva project experimented in the US, massive open online courses, which have very quickly taken over all over the world, have had not much impact on the institution of university. Digital culture shaped by digital technologies will certainly transform universities. When, how, to what extent, we do not know yet. Thank you.